My son told everyone that his wife broke my arm and that I actually deserved it, all while having no idea that I had recorded every word, every moment, and every cruel detail of what truly happened. But before I continue, I want to get to know you too. Write the flag colors of the country you're watching from, and I'll try to guess. Who knows? Maybe we're neighbors. Now, I need to go back a bit to explain how I got to that point. My name is Beatrice Johnson. I'm 58 years old, and up until 6 months ago, I thought I had a normal family. Not wealthy, but stable. I'd been working as a registered nurse for 25 years, raising my son alone after my husband Thomas died in a workplace accident when Daniel was only 8 years old. Thomas's death was devastating, but it brought one blessing: a generous life insurance payout and company compensation that totaled almost $800,000. I guarded that money carefully for years. I paid for Daniel's college education, bought a small but comfortable apartment, and still had a good amount invested for my retirement. Daniel graduated with a business administration degree and met Camilla at the company he worked in. She was pretty, charming, and seemed to genuinely care about him. They were engaged for a year and married in a beautiful ceremony that I paid for almost entirely. At the time, I was happy to provide that for my son. After all, he was all I had. The problem started subtly, as they always do. 3 months after the wedding, Daniel called me saying they were having financial difficulties. The company had delayed his paycheck, and they needed money for rent. I lent them $5,000 without hesitation. A month later, it was the car payment, then a medical emergency for Camilla, then an investment opportunity that couldn't wait. In 6 months, I had lent them almost $50,000. Every time I asked about when they'd pay me back, Daniel would change the subject or say he was getting things organized. Camilla would always smile and thank me for being such an understanding mother-in-law. What really started bothering me was how they talked about the money. It wasn't like they were borrowing, it was like I owed it to them. "After all, you have so much money saved up," Camilla said once. "And we're building our future. It's practically an investment in your own family." That made me uncomfortable, but I swallowed hard and said nothing. I was still trying to be the understanding mother, the cool mother-in-law who didn't cause problems. What a fool I was. The situation got worse when they started pressuring me to move in with them. "Mom, you're living alone in that apartment," Daniel insisted. "We have an extra room. You'd save money and we could take better care of you." Take care of me? I was 58 years old, working double shifts at the hospital, and in perfect health. I didn't need anyone taking care of me. But Daniel and Camilla wouldn't give up. They launched this whole emotional campaign about how good it would be to spend more time together, how I shouldn't live alone, how they worried about me. Eventually, against all my instincts, I agreed. I rented out my apartment to a young couple and moved into their house in March of this year. It was the worst decision of my life. Within the first few weeks, I realized something was wrong. They didn't want me living with them out of affection or concern. They wanted easy access to my money and control over my life. Camilla started going through my purse when she thought I wasn't looking. Daniel asked for my bank passwords to help pay bills online. They insisted I should put Daniel's name as power of attorney on my account, just as a precaution. I politely refused everything, but the tension in the house grew daily. They stopped hiding their irritation. Conversations became short and full of hidden meanings. I felt like an intruder in a house where I should have been welcomed. It was in April that I discovered the complete truth about what was happening. It was a Sunday afternoon, and I had come home early from visiting my sister. I entered the house and heard voices coming from their bedroom. The door was slightly open, and I accidentally overheard their conversation.
Your mother is selfish, Camilla was saying, her voice full of anger. She's got almost $800,000 saved and makes us beg for scraps. I know, but she's stubborn. She won't just give me the money, so we need to be more creative. There are other ways to get what we want. I stood paralyzed in the hallway. My own son talking about me like I was just an obstacle between him and money. What kind of ways? Daniel asked. Leave it to me. I know people who can help us get legal access to her money, power of attorney, guardianship, those things. But for that, she needs to appear incapable of managing her own finances.
And how do we do that? Daniel asked. There are ways to document erratic behavior, memory lapses, poor decisions. With the right documentation, we can get total control over her money. I felt my stomach turn. My daughter-in-law was planning to make me look crazy to steal my money, and my son was agreeing to everything. I quietly went upstairs to my room and locked the door. I sat on the bed for hours, processing what I had heard. In the following weeks, I started observing everything more carefully. I noticed that Camilla was taking photos of the house when it was messy, after she herself had scattered things around. I saw Daniel writing down supposed memory lapses I had, but they were completely made up. They were building a case against me, and I needed to protect myself. The first thing I did was go to the bank on a day off without telling anyone. I scheduled a meeting with the manager, Denise Carter, who had known me for years. Denise, I need your help with something delicate, I began. I told her what I had overheard and my suspicions. Denise was visibly concerned. Beatrice, this is very serious. Let's review all your financial transactions from the past few months. What we discovered made me furious. Besides the loans I knew about, there were regular small withdrawals I didn't recognize. Daniel had my old password, the one I'd used for years and never changed. He was taking $200 to $300 every week. Adding it all up, Denise calculated there have been almost $15,000 in unauthorized withdrawals over the past 6 months. $15,000 stolen directly from my account. Combined with the unpaid loans, Daniel and Camilla had already taken more than $65,000 from me. What do you want to do? Denise asked. I want to change all my passwords, cancel any access they might have, and open a new account at another bank. And I want to do this now before they notice. Denise agreed, and we spent the next 2 hours organizing everything. I transferred almost all my money to the new account, leaving just enough for monthly bills in the old one. If Daniel checked, it would look like I had simply spent the money. When I got home that afternoon, I felt a bit more in control of the situation, but I also knew this was just the beginning. They wouldn't give up easily. And I was right. In the following weeks, the psychological pressure increased dramatically. Camilla started making comments about my memory in front of other people. Beatrice, you've already asked me that 3 times today, she'd say loudly when we had visitors, even when it was a lie. Daniel began suggesting I should stop working. Mom, you're getting too stressed. Maybe it's time to retire and let us take care of you. I was 58 years old and at the peak of my professional capacity. The idea of retiring was ridiculous, but they insisted constantly. I started noticing other strange things. My belongings would disappear and reappear in places I hadn't left them. My blood pressure medication seemed to be running out faster than normal. Once I found my cell phone inside the refrigerator, and I'm absolutely certain I didn't put it there. They were trying to make me doubt my own sanity. That's when I met Lorna, Camilla's sister, who changed everything. Lorna came for dinner one day, and unlike her sister, she was genuinely nice. We talked a lot, and she casually mentioned that Camilla had done something similar with their grandmother years ago. My grandmother had Alzheimer's at the end of her life, Lorna commented, but Camilla started saying she was sick way before the actual diagnosis. She wanted Grandma to sign some papers so she could manage her money.
Did she succeed? I asked, trying to sound casual. No, my dad realized what was happening and stopped it. It was a huge scandal in the family. Camilla didn't speak to us for years because of it. That information was like a bomb. Camilla had a history of trying to manipulate elderly relatives to access their money, and now she was doing the same thing to me. I decided I needed professional help. I looked for a lawyer specializing in family law named Attorney Marcus Reed. I showed him all the evidence I had, the bank statements with unauthorized withdrawals, the messages where Daniel asked for loan money, and told him about the conversation I had overheard. Beatrice, Attorney Reed said seriously, you're dealing with attempted fraud and embezzlement, but what's most concerning is this strategy of making you appear incapable. This could have serious consequences if they get enough documentation. What do I do? First, you need to get out of that house immediately. While you're living with them, it's very easy for them to manipulate the situation. Second, I recommend getting a complete psychological evaluation to have documented proof of your mental capacity. And third, we need to consider filing formal charges.
I followed his advice. That same week, I rented a small apartment and started planning my exit, but I was cautious. I didn't tell anyone I was moving out. I had the psychological evaluation done with a professional recommended by Attorney Reed. After 3 sessions, she confirmed in writing that I was in perfect mental condition, with no signs of dementia, confusion, or inability to manage my finances. "Mrs. Johnson," she told me, "you have a sharp mind and are completely capable of making your own decisions. Any claim to the contrary would be fraudulent." I kept that document like it was gold. It was my protection against the lies Daniel and Camilla were spreading. But they noticed I was acting differently. They became more vigilant, more controlling. Camilla started following me when I went out. Daniel checked my purse looking for bank statements or documents. The tension in the house became unbearable. I knew I needed to leave soon, but I also knew they wouldn't let me go easily, especially after they discovered the money had disappeared from the old account. It was on an afternoon in June when everything exploded. I had gone to the bank to resolve some things, and when I returned, Daniel was waiting for me in the living room with a furious expression. "Where's the money, Mom?" "What money? Don't pretend you don't know. Your account is practically empty. Where are the $750,000 you had?" "That's none of your business, Daniel." He stood up abruptly. "How is it not my business? That money belongs to our family." "It's my money from your father's insurance and my compensation. You have no right to it whatsoever." That's when Camilla appeared in the doorway with that fake, concerned look I knew so well. "Beatrice, we are worried about you. You've been making very strange decisions lately. Maybe it's time to let Daniel help you manage these things." "I manage my finances perfectly fine, Camilla. And by the way, when are you going to pay me back the $65,000 you took?" The silence that followed was revealing. Daniel went pale. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't you? Then maybe you need to refresh your memory. $50,000 in loans that were never paid back and $15,000 in unauthorized withdrawals from my account using my old password." Camilla tried to laugh. "Beatrice, you're confused. There were no unauthorized withdrawals. I have all the bank statements and I've already talked to my lawyer about this."
Camilla's expression changed instantly. The mask of concern fell away, and what remained was pure rage. "You went to talk to a lawyer about your own family?" "I went to talk to a lawyer about 2 thieves who are trying to steal my money." That's when Daniel advanced toward me. He wasn't violent, never had been, but there was something in his eyes at that moment that scared me. Camilla grabbed his arm. "Calm down, honey. Beatrice clearly isn't well. She's having a paranoid episode." "I'm not having any episode. I'm seeing you two exactly as you are. I went up to my room and locked the door. I stayed there the rest of the night making plans for my move. I needed to get out of that house as soon as possible. The next morning, I took advantage of Daniel going to work and Camilla going out for some appointment. I called Lana, my sister-in-law. Lana, I need help. Could you come here with your husband and help me move some things? Of course, Beatrice. Is everything okay? I'll explain when you get here. Lana and her husband Robert arrived in less than an hour. I quickly explained the situation to them. Lana didn't seem surprised. I suspected something was wrong, she said. Camilla has a history. I thought she had changed, but apparently I was wrong. We started putting my things in their car. I didn't take much, just the essentials. Clothes, documents, some personal items. The rest could stay. We were finishing when we heard the front door open. Camilla had returned. She stopped at the entrance to the living room, looking at the suitcases and boxes. What's happening here? I'm leaving, Camilla. Leaving? You can't just leave like this. I can and I will. This house is yours and Daniel's. I was just a guest here. But what about the preparations we made? The power of attorney documents? So it was true. They really were preparing documents to try to take control of my money. I'm not signing any power of attorney, and if you try to do anything, I'll file fraud charges. Camilla turned red with rage. You're ungrateful after everything we've done for you. Everything you've done? You stole $65,000 from me. That money was ours by right. You're his mother. You should help your son. Helping is one thing. Being robbed is another. That's when she lunged at me.
I don't know if she was trying to push me or grab me, but Robert stepped between us. Camilla, calm down. Get out of the way, Robert. This isn't your business. You're threatening my aunt-in-law. It is my business. Lana grabbed the last box and guided me to the door. We left that house under Camilla's screams, who was threatening to call the police, sue everyone, and a series of other things. I went to live temporarily with Lana and Robert while I organized the apartment I had rented. They were incredible to me, giving me all the support I needed. Beatrice, Lana told me one day, you need to know something. Camilla won't give up easily. When she wants something, she goes all the way. What do you mean? Just be careful. She might try worse things. I didn't pay much attention at the time. I thought Lana was exaggerating, but she knew her sister better than I did. 2 weeks after leaving Daniel's house, I started receiving strange phone calls, unknown numbers that would stay silent when I answered and then hang up. My car was scratched in the hospital parking lot where I worked. Someone slashed all 4 tires. I received an anonymous email with photos of me entering and leaving my new apartment. The message said only, "We're watching you." I got scared and called Attorney Reed. Beatrice, this is harassment and intimidation. We're going to file a police report. We went to the police station and told everything to the detective in charge, Detective Angela Morris. She took the situation seriously, especially when I showed her the evidence of theft and manipulation attempts. Mrs. Johnson, I'm going to open an investigation, but you need to be very careful. People like this can be unpredictable when they feel they're losing control. I varied my route to work. I asked colleagues to accompany me to my car. I installed security cameras in my new apartment. I was becoming paranoid, maybe, but I was also alive and safe. It was in July that I received a legal notification. Daniel and Camilla were suing me, claiming I had borrowed $100,000 from them and refused to pay it back. The audacity was impressive. They had stolen from me and now were trying to turn the tables, accusing me of being the debtor.
Do they really think this will work? We have all the bank statements proving exactly the opposite. But why would they do this? Strategy. They want to make you look like the villain in the story, and it's also a form of psychological pressure. We prepared our defense carefully. Not only would we contest their false lawsuit, but we would also file our own action for embezzlement and fraud. The situation was escalating, and I didn't know how far they would be willing to go. The answer came in August, in a way I never could have imagined. It was a Friday night. I had just finished my shift at the hospital and was heading home. I stopped at the supermarket to buy some things. When I left the store with the bags, I noticed a strange car parked near mine. A man was inside, looking in my direction. I quickened my pace and put the groceries in the trunk quickly. When I got in the car and turned the key, nothing happened. The engine wouldn't start. That's when someone knocked on the window. It was the man from the car next to mine. Need help? No, thank you. I'm going to call a tow truck. I know about cars. I could take a look. Something about his manner made me uncomfortable. I refused again and called the tow truck. The man stood there watching me until he finally got in his car and left. When the mechanic arrived and checked my car, he discovered something disturbing. Ma'am, someone messed with your engine. They disconnected some cables on purpose. I felt my blood freeze. It wasn't a mechanical problem. It was sabotage. If you're still here, leave a meaningful quote below. Let's see how many hearts felt this story. I immediately called Detective Morris, who was handling my case. Beatrice, this is very serious. I'm going to send a team to collect the security footage from the supermarket parking lot. The footage showed Camilla entering the parking lot 20 minutes before me and approaching my car. She stayed there for a few minutes and then left. We have enough evidence to arrest her for vandalism and attempted criminal intimidation, the detective told me. But I knew this wasn't enough. They wanted more than to scare me. They wanted to destroy me.
Camilla's arrest lasted only a few hours. Danielle posted bail and she was released with the obligation to stay away from me. But the court order didn't help anything. The incidents continued. Someone threw red paint on my apartment door. I received packages I hadn't ordered. Anonymous letters with threats started arriving. You're going to regret messing with us, stupid old woman. You should have died with your husband. We're going to get what's ours, one way or another. Attorney Reed got a stricter restraining order. Daniel and Camilla couldn't come near me, my work, or my home. But court orders only work with people who respect the law. It was Lana who told me what was happening behind the scenes. She had gone to confront her sister after the arrest. Beatrice, Camilla is obsessed with you. She doesn't talk about anything else. She says you destroyed her life, that you took away the future she had planned. What future? The future of stealing my money? She really believes she has a right to your money. In her twisted mind, you're being selfish by not handing everything over to Daniel. And Daniel, what does he say? Lana sighed. He's completely manipulated by her. He can't see how toxic Camilla is. I think he's afraid of her too. It was sad to hear this. My son had become a puppet in the hands of a woman obsessed with money. In September, the situation reached a breaking point. I was at work when I received a call from Detective Morris. Beatrice, I need you to come to the station immediately. What happened? It's better if we talk in person. I went there with a tight chest. The detective received me in her office with a grave expression. We intercepted a conversation between Daniel and Camilla. They're planning something more serious. More serious how? She showed me the transcript. My stomach churned as I read. Camilla was suggesting they needed to solve the problem definitively. Daniel asked what she meant. Her response was, "Sometimes accidents happen to older people, especially when they live alone." It was a veiled death threat. Beatrice, we're going to provide police protection for you. This threat is very specific and concerning. Would they really do that? Kill their own mother-in-law? Their own mother?
Yes, I believe they would. She shows clear signs of sociopathy, and unfortunately, your son is so involved with her that he might end up being an accomplice. I started having a police officer accompany me everywhere. It was embarrassing, but necessary. My colleagues at the hospital found out about the situation, and everyone was very supportive. "Beatrice, stay here with us as long as you need," my supervisor said. "Nobody's going to lay a finger on you while you're under our roof." The solidarity from people was comforting, but it also made me realize how absurd the situation had become. I was being protected by police because my own son and daughter-in-law wanted to harm me. It was in early October that everything culminated in the incident that led me to that New Year's Eve dinner with my broken arm. It was a Tuesday. I had just finished my afternoon shift at the hospital. The officer who was supposed to escort me had been called to an emergency and asked me to wait a few minutes. I stayed in the hospital reception waiting. That's when I saw Daniel entering. He looked desperate, disheveled, with deep, dark circles under his eyes. "Mom, I need to talk to you." My first instinct was to call security, but there was something in his voice that made me hesitate. "Daniel, you can't be here. There's a restraining order." "I know, but I need to warn you. Camilla, she's planning something tonight." "What do you mean?" He looked around nervously. "She hired someone, a guy she knows. He's going to follow you when you leave here." "And what, Daniel?" "And cause an accident. Make it look like you were hit by a car." I felt my legs weaken. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I can't do it anymore. I thought I wanted the money, that we deserved the money, but not like this, not with you dead." That's when I heard her voice. "Daniel, what are you doing?" Camilla had entered the hospital. She saw us talking, and her face turned red with rage. "You're telling her everything, aren't you, you useless coward?" Daniel turned to her. "Camilla, this has gone too far. I can't let you hurt my mother." "Your mother? That woman ruined our lives." "She didn't ruin anything. We tried to steal from her."
I don't know if she was trying to push me or stop me from leaving, but she grabbed my arm with brutal force. I tried to break free. Daniel tried to hold Camilla back. There were people shouting around us, and in the middle of that chaos, I felt Camilla twisting my arm in a horrible way. The pain was instantaneous and unbearable. I heard a loud crack and screamed. My arm was broken. Camilla let me go with a satisfied smile on her face. "There, now you'll have to stay quiet for a while." Security immobilized her. Daniel was in shock, hands on his head, repeating, "Sorry, sorry," over and over. I was taken to the emergency room of the same hospital where I worked. My colleagues treated me with all care, but the expression of anger on their faces was visible. Everyone knew who had done this. The diagnosis was a complete fracture of the humerus, the arm bone. I needed surgery to put in pins, and then I was left with my arm in a cast and immobilized. Detective Morris arrived while I was still in the recovery room. "Beatrice, Camilla was arrested in the act for aggravated assault. This time there won't be easy bail." "And Daniel?" "He is giving a statement. It seems he finally decided to cooperate and tell everything about her plans." I stayed in the hospital for 6 days. During that time, Daniel showed up 3 times trying to talk to me. I didn't want to see him the first 2 times. The 3rd time, I finally accepted. He entered the room looking destroyed. He had lost weight, was pale,
and his eyes were red from crying so much. "Mom, I have no words." "Then don't speak. Just listen to me." He sat down and kept looking at the floor. "Daniel, I am your son, and I love you. But what you did, what you two did, is unforgivable. You tried to steal from me, lied to me, threatened me, and sided with the woman who wanted to kill me." "I know." Camilla broke my arm in front of dozens of people. And you know what was worse? Seeing you there watching everything happen and not doing anything to protect me until the last second?
I was afraid of her.
Afraid? You're a grown man, Daniel, and you allowed that woman to control your life to the point of turning against your own mother? He started crying. "She manipulated me from the beginning, made me believe you were the problem, that you were being selfish, made me feel like we had a right to your money because you were our family." Family doesn't do this, Daniel. I know that now, and I'm going to have to live the rest of my life knowing I almost let her kill you. I looked at my son and saw something I had never seen before. Genuine remorse. It wasn't the remorse of someone who got caught. It was the remorse of someone who finally understood the gravity of what they had done. "What's going to happen now?" he asked. "Now, you're going to tell the police everything. Every detail of what Camilla planned, the people she hired, everything. And then you're going to accept the consequences of your actions. I'll probably go to jail. And you deserve it." He nodded slowly. "I really do." Daniel left the room and I stayed there, looking at my broken arm. It was physical pain, yes, but the emotional pain of being betrayed by my own son was much worse. I was discharged from the hospital a week before New Year's. My arm was still in a cast and hurt a lot, especially at night. The doctor said recovery would take at least 3 months. Lana and Robert insisted I spend New Year's with them. The whole family would be there. Lana's parents, some uncles, cousins, everyone knew what had happened and wanted to show support. "Beatrice, you're family now, and real family doesn't hurt you. Real family protects you." Those words made me cry. For years, I had sacrificed myself for Daniel, thinking I was being a good mother. But he had never protected me from anything. It had been Lana, practically a stranger, who had welcomed me when I needed it. In the days leading up to New Year's, the legal developments were swift. Camilla was formally charged with aggravated assault, attempted extortion, threats, vandalism, and criminal conspiracy. The prosecutor requested preventive detention, and the judge accepted. She wouldn't get out of jail anytime soon.
Daniel was charged with embezzlement and fraud for the money he had stolen from me. Since he was cooperating fully with the investigations, his lawyer managed to get a plea deal. He would pay back all the stolen money, do community service, and be on probation. It wasn't a severe punishment, but I didn't want to see my son in prison either. I wanted him to learn, to change, to become a better person. "Mom?" He called me a few days before New Year's. "I'm selling everything I have to gather the money I owe you. The car, electronics, everything. I've already got almost $40,000. And the other $25,000? I'll pay it in installments with my salary. It'll take about 2 years, but I'll pay everything back." There was sincerity in his voice. For the first time in months, I thought maybe there was still hope for Daniel. "Where are you living?" I asked. "I rented a room in a boarding house. It's small, but it's what I can afford now." The luxurious apartment, the sports car, the life of appearances, it had all gone away, and maybe that was exactly what he needed. "Daniel, are you spending New Year's alone?" "Yes, I don't have anyone else anymore." Part of me felt sorry, but the stronger part, the part that had learned to protect itself, knew he needed to face the consequences of his choices. Maybe next year things will be different.
That was all I could say. New Year's Day arrived. Lana had prepared a beautiful dinner. The house was decorated with lights, there was a huge tree in the living room, and the smell of delicious food came from the kitchen. I arrived with my arm in a cast, wearing a simple outfit that Lana had helped me put on. I was nervous. I didn't know what it would be like to be at a family gathering after everything that had happened with my own family. But I was received with warm hugs. Everyone treated me with genuine affection that made me realize how much this had been missing from my life recently. Lana's father, Mr. Albert, a man about 70 years old, pulled me aside during dinner. "Beatrice, I want to tell you something. What happened to you wasn't your fault. Camila has always been problematic. Since she was a child, she had an obsession with money and status that we never managed to correct." "Did you know she was like this?"
We knew she was difficult, but we never imagined she would go to this extreme. We distanced ourselves from her years ago because of her behavior. Lana is the only one who still tried to maintain contact. Why? Because Lana has too good a heart. She always thought her sister could change, but people like Camilla don't change. They just get more dangerous. Those words made me reflect on how many signs I had ignored, how many times Camilla had shown who she really was, and I had chosen not to see. During dinner, the conversation flowed naturally. We talked about everything: work, movies, plans for the new year. No one mentioned the incident directly, but everyone showed care for me. That's when the doorbell rang. Lana went to answer. I heard voices at the door, a low discussion. Then Lana came back with a strange expression on her face. "Beatrice, it's Daniel. He wants to talk to you." My heart raced. "He's here?" "He's at the door. He said he just wants to give you something." I went to the entrance, accompanied by Lana and Robert. Daniel was standing there, in the cold, holding an envelope. "Mom, sorry to show up this way, but I needed to give you this today." I took the envelope. Inside was a check for $40,000 and a handwritten letter. "It's everything I managed to gather so far." "And the letter?" "Things I need you to know." I looked at him. My son looked 10 years older. The weight of guilt was clearly destroying him. "Daniel, you don't need to say anything." "Mom, I just wanted you to know that I understand everything I did wrong, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be a better person." He turned to leave, but something made me call him back. "Daniel, wait." He stopped and turned around. "Do you want to come in? It's New Year's. Nobody should spend this day alone." I saw tears in his eyes. "I don't deserve it." "No, you don't deserve it. But I'm not like you and Camilla. I still believe in second chances." Lana gently interfered. "Beatrice, are you sure?" "I am, but he's going to have to work very hard to earn back my trust." Daniel entered cautiously, like he was walking on eggshells. Lana's family received him politely, but with cold politeness. Everyone knew who he was and what he had done. Dinner continued, but now with tension in the air. Daniel stayed quiet, eating little, clearly uncomfortable. I was also uncomfortable, wondering if I had done the right thing by letting him in. It was after dessert that Lana suggested each person share something they were grateful for that year. It was a family tradition of hers. When my turn came, I took a deep breath. "I'm grateful for discovering who really cares about me, for finding strength I didn't know I had, and for being alive to tell this story." I raised my cast arm. This broken arm is a reminder that I trusted the wrong people, but it's also a reminder that I survived, and that makes me stronger. The silence that followed was heavy. Everyone looked at Daniel. When his turn came, he stood up. His hands were shaking. "I don't know if I deserve to be here.
Actually, I know I don't deserve it. But since my mother gave me this chance, I need to say some things. He looked directly at me. Mom, I spent the last few months being the person Dad would be ashamed to know. Dad loved you so much. He worked hard to make sure you'd be okay if something happened to him. And I, instead of honoring that, tried to steal from you. His voice broke. Worse yet, I let a manipulative woman convince me that you were the problem. Camila made me believe we deserved your money, that you were being selfish. But the truth is, I was being greedy, lazy, and cruel. Tears were running down his face now. When I saw Camila breaking your arm, something broke inside me too. I saw my mother, the woman who raised me alone, who worked double shifts to give me an education, being attacked because of money, and I had been part of that. He wiped his face with his sleeve. I can't go back in time. I can't undo what I did, but I can promise I'll spend every day trying to be the son you deserved to have from the beginning. And if it takes the rest of my life, I'll prove I can change.
Daniel sat down completely emotionally broken. The room was in absolute silence. It was Robert who spoke first. Recognizing mistakes is the first step. But words are easy, Daniel. What are you going to do differently? Everything, Daniel replied. I've already started therapy. I'm working 2 jobs to pay back the money I stole. I cut contact with anyone connected to Camila. And most importantly, I'm going to respect my mother's boundaries. If she wants me to stay away, I'll stay away. If she gives me a chance, I'll use every second to show I've changed. I looked at my son and saw something I hadn't seen in years. True humility. It wasn't the emotional manipulation that Camilla used. It was genuine remorse. Daniel, I said calmly, you broke my trust in a way that will take years to rebuild. But I see you're trying, and that's more than you did in the last few months. Thank you, Mom. But understand one thing. One word out of place, one wrong step, and it's over. There won't be a third chance. I understand. The rest of the evening passed more lightly. Daniel kept to himself, helping clear dishes and trying to be useful without being intrusive. When he left, he thanked me 3 more times for the chance. After he left, Lana sat next to me. You did the right thing, she said. Do you think so? I think he's destroyed. Either this will make him truly change, or it will finish destroying him. Either way, you gave him something Camilla never gave, an honest chance. In the days following New Year's, I thought a lot about forgiveness and consequences. Daniel was paying for what he did, but was I ready to forgive? The answer was not yet, but maybe someday. I returned to work in January with my arm still in a cast. My colleagues threw a small party to welcome me back. There were balloons, cake, and even a banner that read, "Welcome back, Warrior Beatrice." You all are amazing, I said, moved. We take care of our own, my supervisor replied. In the following months, my life began to reorganize. The case against Camilla progressed quickly. She was sentenced to 6 years in prison for aggravated assault, plus another 3 years for attempted extortion and criminal conspiracy, 9 years total. She wouldn't be getting out anytime soon. During the trial, she stared at me from the defendant's bench. When the judge asked if she had anything to say, she replied, "That woman ruined my life. All I did was try to secure my family's future." The judge responded coldly, "You attempted to steal, threaten, and physically assault an innocent person. The only person who ruined your life was yourself." I felt deep satisfaction seeing justice being done. Daniel continued paying the money back religiously. Each month, he deposited what he could. He also continued in therapy and occasionally sent me short messages.
Good morning, Mom. Hope you're well. Happy birthday, Mom. I love you. I responded briefly, keeping my distance but not cutting contact completely. My arm healed in April. Physical therapy was painful but necessary. The day they removed the cast, I looked at my arm and saw the scars from the surgery. They were permanent marks of what had happened, but they were also marks of survival. With my arm healed, I felt like I could finally start truly rebuilding my life. I had spent months in survival mode, just reacting to attacks and protecting myself. Now it was time to live again. The first thing I did was look for a therapist. After everything that had happened, I knew I needed to process the trauma properly. Dr. Helen Brooks was a woman in her 60s, with a calm manner that made me feel safe.
In the first sessions, I just cried. I cried for the betrayal, for the pain, for the loss of the family I thought I had. Beatrice, she told me in one session, you're grieving, not for someone's physical death, but for the death of the image you had of your son and the family you imagined having. That's exactly it. I lost my son, but he's still alive. How do I deal with that? By accepting that the Daniel you knew may never have existed, or that he existed, but was corrupted. And now you're getting to know a new version of him. It's up to you to decide if you want to have that person in your life. Those sessions helped me understand that I wasn't to blame. Mothers are conditioned to blame themselves for everything their children do wrong. But Daniel was an adult. His choices were his, not mine. In May, I decided to do something I had been putting off: visit Thomas's grave. I hadn't been there since before all this confusion started. I brought flowers and stayed there in silence for a long time. Thomas, I finally spoke. I messed up everything with Daniel. I don't know what I did wrong. I tried to be a good mother, but he got lost anyway. The wind rustled the trees around us. It seemed almost like an answer. But I'm fighting, honey. I'm protecting myself, and I'm going to be okay, with or without him. I left the cemetery feeling lighter. Thomas would have been proud of how I had faced everything. It was in June that I received an unexpected call. It was the social worker from the prison where Camilla was being held. Mrs. Johnson, Miss Camilla Price has requested to speak with you. Talk about what? She didn't say, but it's her right to request and your right to refuse. My first instinct was to refuse. I never wanted to see that woman again. But curiosity spoke louder. I'll think about it. I consulted Dr. Brooks about the visit. Do you feel safe doing this? She asked. She's behind bars. Physically, yes, I'm safe. And emotionally? I thought about it. I think so. Actually, it might be good for me to have closure. I decided to go. I scheduled the visit for a week later. When I arrived at the prison, I was searched and taken to a visiting room with tables separated by glass dividers. I waited a few minutes until Camilla entered. She looked different. Her hair was pulled back carelessly, no makeup, wearing the orange prison uniform. But what caught my attention most was her expression. It wasn't the arrogance I knew anymore. It was something close to defeat. We picked up the phones on each side of the glass. Beatrice, she began, thank you for coming. What do you want, Camilla? I wanted to apologize. I couldn't hold back the bitter laugh. Apologize? You want to apologize? I know I have no right. I know it doesn't change anything. But these months here have made me think a lot about how I got to this point, about the choices I made, about how I became such a horrible person. I looked at her trying to detect manipulation, but all I saw was exhaustion. Camilla, you broke my arm. You planned to kill me, stole from me, threatened me. Why? Because I was obsessed with the idea of having a life I couldn't afford. I grew up poor,
very poor, and I swore I would never be poor again. Many people are poor, Camilla. That doesn't justify becoming a criminal. I know, I'm not trying to justify it, just explaining. When I met Daniel and learned about your inheritance, I saw an opportunity and convinced myself I had a right to that money. You had no right to anything. I know that now, but at the time, my mind was so distorted that I really believed I did. I thought you were being selfish by not simply giving everything to Daniel. And the plan to kill me? She lowered her eyes. That was me completely losing control. When I saw you were going to give in, that you had moved the money, that you were prosecuting us, I panicked. And people in panic do terrible things. That's not an excuse. It's not, and I'm not asking for forgiveness expecting you to forgive me. I know what I did is unforgivable. I just wanted you to know that I recognize how wrong it was. We were silent for a moment. How is Daniel? She asked. Why do you care?
Because even though I'm a horrible person, I really cared about him. In a sick and selfish way, but I cared. He's rebuilding his life without you. Good. He deserves that. Camilla sighed. I have 7 more years here. Time enough to think about all the lives I destroyed. Yours, Daniel's, my family's, and my own. And what are you going to do when you get out? Honestly, I don't know. Maybe go far away and start over. Or maybe no one will trust me anymore and I won't be able to start over. Either way, I'll have to live with what I did. I got up to leave. Beatrice, she called me. I looked at her. You're much stronger than I imagined. I completely underestimated you, and that was my biggest mistake. I left that prison feeling strange. I didn't feel sorry for Camilla. She had dug her own grave, but I felt a kind of closure. The months passed, and my life gained a new normalcy. I continued working at the hospital, made new friends, traveled to places I had always wanted to see. I was finally living for myself. Daniel continued maintaining respectful distance. He paid the money religiously and sent occasional messages, but didn't pressure for more contact than I was willing to give. Today, at 59 years old, I have a life I never imagined having. It's not perfect. I still have occasional nightmares. I still look over my shoulder sometimes. But it's my life, on my terms. Daniel is engaged to a woman named Amanda. He asked my permission before proposing, which touched me deeply. Mom, this time I want to do everything right and I won't make the same mistakes. I have your blessing, son. But remember, marriage is about partnership, not money. I know that now. The wedding is scheduled for June. I'll be there, not as the naive mother who pays for everything and gets exploited, but as the mother who establishes healthy boundaries and demands respect. Thank you for staying with me until the end. Now I'm curious. After this story, which words stayed with you the most? Write them in the comments. Let's see which ones touch the most hearts. When I look at the scars on my arm, I don't see weakness. I see survival. I see fight. I see victory. That broken arm left scars, but it also left me stronger than I ever imagined I could be.